Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for um,
It's right up in your face. Hide yourself.
first up, we want to apologize for the slight delay, but it's was a interesting visit and a good review of some of the issues that still remain with the U.S. Postal Service. Uh, I want to welcome you all to the district. I think some of you have been here before when we've been probably. I'm thinking this is probably the fourth or fifth time I've been to this facility. And of course, Congressman Green has a facility now it's in Missouri
South
City.
side,
They consider it South Side, but it's Missouri City. And just by brief background, this facility used to be like number one the country in terms of the mail that it processes. The load was so heavy that they then decided to open the Southside facility, which is now in Congressman Green's district. So a lot of the issues and things that happen here impact his facility and vice versa, which is why we've been working together for now couple of years on some of these issues. To me, it's disappointing that some of the questions that I've had since the first time I came down here are still there. While I'm pleased that it seems to be a little more organized and some of the infrastructure issues have been taken care of, some of the remaining issues in terms of mail delay, packages especially for merchandise, for medicine, for money, and for any sort of delivery, it still exists. Well, there seems to be some improvement in the mail delay. They still exist. And I know Congressman Green will mention the incident that occurred just last week in his facility. But for me, it really is also about the morale for employees, the impact of the extreme heat and the weather events that we've had here. And it's also, of course, about making sure that people get all their merchandise, particularly during this holiday season. We did see some delays in mail ballots, so I'm hopeful that some of those issues will be addressed so that the next mail ballot season we will not have them. I also wanted to express my concern about the lack of Spanish-speaking personnel at some of our local post offices. I have witnessed personally in my post office a postal employee, be very demeaning and degrading to a Spanish-speaking customer in response to an inquiry about the passport facility services that they had in that office. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to give me some answers. I witnessed all of this in May. We sent them a letter and we still haven't gotten a response. So they did commit that they would look at it. I know that there's a population growth in Houston in the Spanish-speaking community. I think we have now 47% Latino population in Houston. This post office should reflect that, not only in terms of their employees, but also being able to handle inquiries in Spanish or any language. You've got Passport Day. That alone tells you or should be a trigger in people's mind that some people may be coming in for a passport and may not be able to speak English. The second thing that I also mentioned was just mail being stolen. I saw that you all reported about a couple of weeks ago an OIG report on the increase in stolen mail. And one of those reports was on this post office. I've not been able to get that OIG report. I've asked for it again because I've had two personal incidents. I sent a graduation present. You know, some people are probably going to laugh and go like, what? You put money in the mail? Well, yes, I did, because I knew I wanted to get the graduation gift to my niece for graduation. She never got it. Never got it. I have my sister who sent my nephew a check in the mail also for my nephew's birthday, and he sent it to my house because my nephew was living with me at the time. He never got it. So I know that it's not just something that happens to my constituents, it has happened to me. So I've asked them to check on that, because if they're doing an audit on stolen mail, they're stealing it for a variety of reasons, which brings me to the second point, which is medicines. There may be some people that would steal a package that obviously has medicines. It is very obvious when it's medicines because they put it in those plastic wrappers. Someone could also be stealing that mail for drug abuse. They're looking for the right drug. So we need to be extremely cautious about that, and I've asked them to also look at that. The last point that was of concern to me, we all know it's hot in Houston, not right now, but during the summer months, and I'm very concerned about the lack of cars for the Postal Service workers that are air conditioned, and I'm also concerned about the postal workers that deliver mail working in the extreme heat, and they assured me that they do have a policy on that, so we're going to try to follow up, because extreme heat not only impacts us and the workers, it also impacts medicines. If medicines stay out in the heat too long, it might spoil the medication. So we're trying to get some follow-up on exactly what is going on with medicines and how they're handling it. With that, I'll now yield to Congressman Green. Again, he's got the Southside facility.
Thank you, Congresswoman Garcia. I appreciate greatly what we've been able to accomplish together. Friends, thank you for being here. It's important for you to be here because the success that we've had is due in great part to your participation, meaning you're getting the message to the masses. People know about these things because you are telling them. And if not but for your sharing this information, many people would not understand the magnitude of the concern that we're trying to address. I want to also make note of this. This was supposed to be a tour of two facilities, this facility and the Missouri City facility. We're not touring the Missouri City facility because of an unpleasant circumstance. A person was killed at the Missouri City facility. This is of great concern to all persons who visit postal facilities, and that would include post offices, because people want to know that they're safe when they go into a post office, and workers ought to know that they're safe when they come to work. This is of great concern, so I'm going to address this first, and then I'll go to the second concern, which is the mail delivery, which is something that we have been talking to you about now for years. But before doing that, let me share this one thing. We do not speak for the post office. We do not. They will not come before you and address you. They have said as much, that they are not prepared to do this. So we find our constituents calling upon us to answer questions that, quite frankly, the people who serve and work in the Postal Service, they should be answering these questions. So I'll answer as best as I can, but I cannot guarantee you that I can give you the best information that is available, because it's not available to me. So let's start now with the shooting that took place. Here's what we know, and I made some notes on this, but here's what we know. We know that the shooter was a postal worker. We know that the person who is deceased was a contract worker. We know that the shooter is still in the custody of Missouri City Police. And we know that the U.S. Attorney's Office is looking into this, and at some point there may be a grand jury, not only investigation by way of some prosecutor bringing information to the grand jury, but a grand jury will look into this, and there may be an indictment. I say maybe because every person is innocent until proven guilty. We know that the person that was shot was there on the floor in that postal facility in Missouri City area, and that person was there for some time. I don't think it was a prolonged period of time. The police were contacted, and they came as quickly as possible. I think it was done within minutes, not within hours, within minutes. We know that at that time, the persons who are in charge there, supervisors, that they came to the facility, and that people were huddled together in various locations and then brought to one central location so that they could get some assessment as to who's missing. They wanted to make sure that there was just one person, and that's too many, by the way, but they wanted to make sure that there was only one victim of this unfortunate circumstance. We know now that they are investigating. And they are telling us that they are limiting what they say because there's an investigation that's in progress. We know that we want to know more. So we will continue to ask for more, and hopefully we'll get more information that we can share with you. However, as it relates to the Missouri City plant, may I have my cane, please, Rachel? As it relates to the Missouri City plant, we have some photographs. Here is the Missouri City plant. And if you would now, in your mind, juxtapose this plant to that plant, you can see that there is a fence around the plant over here, the north side plant, which is the one that's in Ms. Garcia's district. There is no fence around this plant. We have asked whether there will be a fence, and they say that there is going to be a security assessment, and when that security assessment is made, determinations will be made as to how they're going to protect people at this plant. There are other things associated with the plant that I won't call to your attention because I quite frankly agree with what was said to me in the meeting. To go into great detail about some of these other things might cause persons who are working at this facility to be placed in harm's way. I don't want to place anybody in harm's way. So I can tell you that there are more things that I know that I'm not going to say because I'm going to respect the request not to put employees in harm's way. But I will say that there is still more work to be done here as it relates to security, and that assessment is something that we're hoping to receive a copy of and then share more information with you. I would tell you that I am concerned now about persons who traverse this area, persons who work in and out of this facility, and my belief is that the security that's there can do the job. My hope is that the job will be done such that no one else will be hurt. They have both private security and they have security that is, quite frankly, on the payroll of the federal government. They say that they're going to phase out the private security. And I'm mentioning this to you because many of the employees, and I had one to talk to me today about this, they are of the opinion that with private security and this facility not being owned by the federal government, that facility behind us is owned by the government. This one is not. There are workers who are concerned that with private security and this being a leased facility, that these are steps toward privatizing the Postal Service. I am an advocate for maintaining the Postal Service. I want it improved. I want no pieces of mail to be lost. I want to make sure that every piece of mail is properly delivered. But I don't want to see it privatized. The Postal Service is in the Constitution of the United States of America. I want to keep it not only in the Constitution, but in the hands of persons who are working for the federal government so that we can be assured that we can have some degree of oversight. I don't think that we have oversight that is as efficacious as it should be right now. We're trying to do our very best, and we'll have to tinker with this and try to find some way to have it occur. But I want you to know that the Postal Service now is sort of quasi-governmental. It is not fully, because it's recently as a few years ago, we passed some laws that put it in the position that it's in today. So my desire is for us to have some degree of influence, some degree of oversight, but I want those workers to still have the same protections that they have now as government employees to the extent that they are. Finally, this, as it relates to this, and I go to the next point. That event that occurred where a life was lost should not have happened. It just should not have happened at any postal facility. And we have to find a way to make sure that it never happens again. I believe that a fence is needed. I believe that there are some other things that have to be done to protect those workers, to make sure that no one is ever assaulted again in a facility such as this. Moving to the next part of this press event, morale. The Congresswoman addressed morale. We addressed it with the persons who were in attendance. There is something called a climate report, wherein they check to see what the morale is by having the employees complete this questionnaire. We did not get that report today. They say they're still processing that report. But we are told by an employee that the morale is very low. This employee would know something about morale because this employee is a part of the union and has contact with workers in this facility and the other facility. So morale is something that's been called to our attention. There's a climate report that's supposed to address it. We look to have information about that climate report. We did ask whether or not that report would be, the results would be passed on to the employees, and there was not a definitive answer shared with us as to whether or not it will be shared with the employees. But I believe it should be. I think the employees need to know what the report says, just as I think management should know what the report says. After all, the information that is being compiled is being received from the employees, so they should know something about it. I believe that we have made our point as it relates to mail not being distributed timely and appropriately, but I think that there's one more point to be made that I will make on this. The Congresswoman has indicated that she has had an experience that she can personally attest to. I have had an experience. Sent a letter, and I have a tracking system that I've been using on this letter. It was placed in the mail on Friday, October 25th, 2024 at 4:31 p.m. It was to go to Washington, D.C. Its estimated time of delivery in Washington, D.C. was to be Monday, October 28th. I have the tracking number for the piece of mail. The status now is that it is still somewhere in Houston, according to the tracking system. That piece of mail has been in Houston since October 25th, 2024. This is unacceptable for two members of Congress to have had the same experience. Now, I don't want to equate this to the entirety of the public, but I do find that it is quite unusual, in my opinion, for the two members of Congress to have mail that's not being delivered timely and appropriately. I will tell you that I am now going to today place this piece of mail has a check. I'm going to place another check in the mail because since October 28th, the check that I placed in the mail initially has not been delivered and is said to still be here in Houston, Texas. So now I'm placing another one in the mail today. Literally, it is in this envelope. I shall not reverse the sides. I know that people would want to see to whom it's going, but it's not going to get there timely because the time that it should have arrived has long since passed. But I've been communicating with people and they understand that we're having a delivery problem. So we'll place this in the mail. We want to make sure now, friends, that all mail is processed. The Congresswoman made that point perspicuously clear. She indicated that there should be 0 pieces of mail, not just maybe 10%, but 0 pieces. We understand that they are processing over 1 million pieces a day in Houston, and this is packages. When it comes to letters, then you get into multi-millions that are being processed. But listen, this one piece could be somebody's ballot. It could be a ballot. It could be multiple ballots that are not being processed properly. We want every piece of mail processed properly because if it's your mail, that's the most important piece of mail in the entirety of these millions of pieces. Every piece has to be processed properly. Finally, I want to thank those workers. We went through and we saw them doing their jobs dutifully. I want to thank them for what they're doing to help us get that mail delivered timely and appropriately. I don't think that this is something that's happening because and I yield back to the Congresswoman.
Thank you, Congressman. And one thing that really almost shocked me was when they admitted and said that they did not have an evacuation plan at the Southside facility. And at first I wasn't clear if they meant for a shooter event or any event. So I asked the question. So imagine you live in the city of Houston that seems to be so hurricane prone and so flooding prone that you would not have an evacuation plan in place before you even moved employees in there or had the public there. Then they kind of backpedaled a little bit and said, oh no, we have a little diagram. I said, no, a real evacuation plan for every act of God or man to make sure that the public responds accordingly and your employees. So again, this is not just about letters, it's about making sure that the post office here, it does not put their employees and the public at risk. We know they do a great job. We need them to do an even greater job because especially right now during the holiday season, we need to make sure that those packages arrive. And we also know our constituency includes a lot of veterans and seniors. We need to make sure that their Social Security checks and veterans checks get in line. Not everybody has a bank. We need to make sure that their money arrives on time, that their merchandise arrives on time, that their medicines arrive on time, and if it's a voting season, that their mail ballots get on time. So it's all about everything, and we need to make sure that this post office and the Southside Post Office just do a better job.
And one of the things that we have called to your attention on multiple occasions is this. The Postal Service should come before the cameras and they should explain what's going on. This is not something that the Congresswoman and I should have to do, but we do it because we get the questions. People expect us to have the answers, and we don't have them, so we have to do what we're doing now. But I still insist that the Postal Service should be standing before these cameras and answering your questions about what's going on. That's the best source of information for you, and I know you want that, and I've asked them to do that, but I was told as late as today that they will not be making any statements at this time.
Any questions? Well, I
didn't hear it. Could you repeat it?
The mail ballots this election. What sort of problems you mentioned?
well, I read an article, and I must admit it's an article that there was some ballots that did come in late or were postmarked late that were not counted over at the county. For any specifics, you might get with them. We just need to make sure we've got a system in place to make sure that that doesn't happen ever. Not this last season, but there will be another round of voting in May. And they assured us the last time that we met with them that they were going to be doing everything humanly possible to make sure that they handled them quickly. I'm not convinced yet that system is in place.
And I would add to what the Congresswoman has said this. Doesn't matter how many. If one ballot can make a difference.
Zero tolerance.
Yes, we have to have all ballots processed timely, and they're not all being processed timely.
With all this going on, are you skeptical or concerned about public, their views of the old mail system?
Well, I know the public is having some consternation. People tell me as much. But I also know this, that we have to protect this service and just make it better. If we put this service in the hands of private people, we're going to have greater difficulty in terms of supervision of the services that are being rendered. And right now, I can come out and talk to you. But if it's privatized, I don't know that they have to talk to me at all. I think that at least we can now have an entree into these venues and talk to the people who are managers. So yes, the public has concerns, and I want the public to know that we're going to do everything that we can to allay their consternation, allay those concerns.
I think there's a lot of members of the public that don't trust the post office, and those that can are using alternatives for some of their mail and packages to get through to their loved ones or family or friends. But my district is a working class district. It's a Latino district. It's not a rich district. They don't know about Venmo or they don't know about PayPal. I mean, they're used to the post office. Especially when it comes with our seniors, they're used to working with the post office, and sometimes, frankly, they don't complain. It's gotten to where, well, that's just the way the post office is, which is unacceptable.
You have a murder, you got crazy stuff going on.
No evacuation plan. I found that horrifying.
Well,
So
yeah.
why should anybody at this point, after hearing this press conference, even have any faith in it?
Well, you are right about the loss of life. That's something that should not have happened. There should be an evacuation plan. I brought that to their attention as well. And there should be greater confidence. I'm not pleased with where we are. This is not a good place for us to be with the mail that is going from point A to point B that has within it medicine, that has things that have to be processed timely, bills to be paid. There are many people who still pay their bills this way through the Postal Service. So I'm not pleased with where we are. But I have to say this, I believe that it can be cured. I just think that we have to do as much as we can in demanding that it be cured. And if you continue to take this message to the masses will let people know that they're displeased. They will take their business elsewhere. I know that business is going elsewhere. I don't want to see us lose the Postal Service that we have some degree of influence with, but this business is going elsewhere. There is no question about that.
A federal employee was assaulted yesterday at Oaks Airport. I don't know if y'all heard about that.
No.
Yes. Yes, well, I have heard about it, and I've read about it. This appears to be something that occurred near an airport that is not aligned with the two major airports that we have. And it appears that the person was assaulted and then came back, the culprit came back and then fired many rounds. I've read as many as 20 rounds were fired at that facility. And I'm concerned about all of these facilities. And I'm really concerned that a person was able to come back and then fire 20 rounds. You would think that there would be some part of the constabulary that would be present to prevent any additional harm because the person wasn't in custody. So yes, that's of concern to us as well, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe at the airports, at any place where people are traversing, trying to make their way, especially during these holidays.
Anybody else? Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. It helps us get the word out.
And we could not do it without you. The people need what you can produce. So please get that message out.
And we keep pressuring them to do a better job of reaching out to you. We even suggested today that the tour they gave us, they should open up for you all to do so that you can see directly the machines and what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.